Good morning, everyone. We're excited to have our office session today. Excited to introduce you to Pranav, who is our DevRel for Pangea. He will be showcasing the Vim editor on our Pangea platform and lots of exciting things to talk about. So Pranav, let me hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ramad. Today my goal is to show you all how to use the Pangea Vim plugin. What that does is, if you've ever heard or used the Vim editor, you can basically take out things like API keys or sensitive credentials that go into your code accidentally using this easy to use plugin, right? So the way I want to kind of structure this is first go into, what is Vim, why people use it, just a short overview of that, and then go into, why the Vim Pangea plugin can save you a lot of time and as well as save your company from facing a lot of cyber attacks, right? So firstly, what is Vim? Vim is a text editor. It's used by a lot of developers, and it's a text editor that's been there for very, very long, and there have been a lot of iterations that have gone on it. I'll kind of screen share and show you what Vim looks like and why people kind of use it, just to the small demo. So let me share my screen. Okay, so yeah, the cool part about Vim is it's all based in the terminal. That's why a lot of developers, affiliated and not affiliated, kind of love it. So I'm gonna open something called NVim or NeoVim. It's the same as Vim, just with a few bells and whistles, right? And so the way Vim works is, you can add stuff. So we are in the Pangea office session. Pangea has great APIs. So it just works like a normal Notepad++ or VS Code or whatever it may be. It just works as a text editor. Now, the advantage that comes with Vim is, the reason why people use it is you can navigate very easily. So instead of using your mouse or your arrow keys to move around stuff, you can use just the JK, L, and semicolon to move around. So you can hit L to move to the right, K to move up, and J to move down, and I think it's H to move left. Sorry, it was H, J, and K, and L to be able to move around your thing. So the reasons devs love this is because they don't have to move their finger off the keyboard, and it's very useful, right? So one of our so let me head over now to the Vim Pangea plugin, show you what it is, and give you a demo of why it's useful. Yeah, we head over to the Vim Pangea plugin. So the advantage of the Vim Pangea plugin, as I mentioned, is you can redact certain API keys, right? So let's kind of see what is redaction, how does that work, and then let's look at how you can use the Vim Pangea plugin to redact stuff. So I have the mini tickle UI pulled up here, which is basically a playground in the Pangea docs where you can play around with our APIs and see how it works. So over here, I'm at the Redact API. And as you can see over here, what I've done is I've basically, put in a piece of text that says, hi, my email is pangolin@pangea.cloud, right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit send. And what we'll see is that the redacted text that we got back was basically, hi, my email is email address, right? So what this did was it's on my email address, detected it, and automatically redacted that to prevent, any kind of leakage of PII if I was using this data elsewhere, right? And it's not just email addresses. You can control things like IP addresses, you can control SSN and stuff like that. But specifically for the Vim Pangea plugin, what we want to control is really secrets. Their API keys, their JW JOT tokens, there are various different kinds of keys and secrets that you want to use. So the best way to start editing it and kind of, get your hands dirty and play around with it is to head over to console.pangea.cloud. And in there, you want to go to the Redact service, right? Once you're in the Redact service, you'll kind of see rule sets. And, there are general pre-filled rules that come with Pangea. And these are very useful for a lot of use cases if you're building financial applications, healthcare applications, or anything that handles sensitive data. But it also has a section called secrets. And this secrets has a ton of different, key identification stuff. So it can identify RSA private keys, Slack tokens, other private keys, AWS keys. It has a really, really large set. So today what I'm going to show you, and I've enabled Stripe API keys over here, because today I'm going to kind of show you how, like, in your code base, you can redact a Stripe API key directly from your Vim terminal, right? So I'm going to head over to the Pangea plugin, right? Now, the way to install plugins on Vim, if you're familiar with Vim, is there's something called a Vim RC file. So if you're using NeoVim, which is usually like the easiest way to install stuff, you got to go to .config/nvim/neovim/init.vim, right? And over here, what you will see is I've added Michael Combs 28/Vim Pangea. And this is how you add plugins. So Michael Combs was one of our engineers, and he published it to the registry of Vim packages. And we can just install it directly by putting plug space the package name. And the best way to install it is just, so once you add that in, you just go hit the escape key to go out into command mode, and then you do : and you hit plug install, and it basically says, okay, it's already installed, right? Because I've already installed that. But if you were to install it, that's how you would install it, just like any other Vim plugin. And now what we're going to do is you want to go into the .vimrc file, because you need to put your Pangea token in. The Pangea token is the easiest way through which, a developer, the API can authenticate you and make sure that you're making the request. And that's it linked in the documentation. You just have to put let g Pangea token, and you can get your Pangea token straight from the overview section, right? So now let's head over and see how this kind of works, right? So right over here, I have an XJS file. It's a util folder that contains a Stripe API key. So I just created a test account, got a Stripe API key, and put this in. And what this function does is it basically, sends a request to create, a product on Stripe so that you can see the Stripe checkout page, right? And over here, I have the secret key. And a lot of the times what happens is developers don't really notice, and this including me, sometimes, you're debugging, you're testing around, you paste the key in, and you forget about it and you push it to GitHub, right? And a lot of the times what happens is when you push it to GitHub, it is pretty hard to modify the commit, especially, if you push that commit and then you push a few more commits. The issue is because, there's this whole tree system that GitHub uses, which has a particular set of hashes that are pretty hard to tamper with, right? So the issue is, once you've committed it, it's kind of hard to edit it and edit the code that's in it. That's why you almost never want to kind of, put your keys in. And there have been cyber attacks in the past where there are bots that just scrape across GitHub and open source repositories and look through commit history just to find exposed API keys that they can use for other services, right? So that's why it's pretty important, because you want to make sure that you don't put any of your API keys, you don't commit them to GitHub, right? So now the easiest way to get started is, if you see the documentation, it says you can just run, it's not in the documentation, but it's right here. So if you look at the usage, it says you put in the command :redact, and it should basically talk to the Redact service, get the redacted response, and update it, right? So in this case, we have a Stripe API key. So if I do get into command mode and type redact, right, hit enter, and then it takes me to the bottom of the file. But like if I go back up to the file, you'll notice that what it did was it basically, spoke to the Redact service, looked at, all of the text in this whole file and was like, hey, I noticed an API key. I got to remove that. And it basically returned the response with Stripe API key in here, right? And you can do multiple things. You can do if you intentionally want it to be here, but you don't want the whole key to be there, you can partially mask it. I don't know why you would want that case, but if you required that use case, you could possibly do that. And yeah, so that's the best way to make sure that you don't push API keys directly while you're working in development to GitHub, primarily because it remains in the history and you don't want any kind of bots exploiting your API access and misusing it. The Vim Pangea plugin is a start. It's a very cool way to which you can redact any kinds of API keys that are in your code base. But there's a long roadmap to go. So we can do detection only and not really redaction. There are things like GitHub hooks that we can do, which basically will check for any API keys in your code base before creating a commit to prevent you from committing itself. And there's a lot we can do, but this is a simple use case to show you how you can use Redact to help you write better code and safer code, right? This is all written in Vim script, which is a Vim scripting language. And if I just pop in to the code just to show you that I'm not kind of hard coding this, you'll notice that all it does is it just sends a request to the Redact API in here, and then it adds the Pangea token that we just set. Let's go back. How do I fill that? Okay, so it sends the Pangea token, gets the response back in the result/redacted, which is what we saw in our when we were looking at the email example. It looks at gets the redacted text and just updates the file path. Right. So that's how it works. That's a demo of how the Vim Pangea plugin works. So happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Hey, this is great, Pranav. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. Don't see any questions at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, Vim Stank a lot of developers use it, but a lot of the times people can be opinionated about their plugins and stuff like that. So,
I do have one question. What triggered you to create the blog around this specific editor?
Yeah,
clearly other editors out there.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think primarily it's just that Vim has a really, really large developer base. So a lot of developers use Vim, and accidentally putting API keys is a problem that a lot of developers do. I think a bigger company that think they have they might have a detection system. It depends on the company, but a lot of the times, you as a developer are first supposed to practice not putting your API keys in. So you would use a service like Vault, for example, to store your secrets and pull them only when needed. But sometimes when you're debugging, you put in stuff there, and a lot of the times you don't want that to go on. So this is more of once you're done coding and you push code, how to prevent putting your API keys publicly in the open.
Yes, great. Do you anticipate showcasing any other editors?
So the advantage is this can be built for any editor. So we're also working on a bunch of stuff. But if you're a developer and you're interested in building this for your own favorite editor, be it VS Code, Atom, whatever it is, you should go ahead and try it out. You can sign up on Pangea.cloud.
Great. All right.
Do you know if this plugin will work? So VS Code has Vim emulation, right? So you can install Vim emulation. Will this plugin work in the Vim emulation?
I believe Vim plugins work with VS Code, because I think what VS Code does under the layer is they take your Vim RC config, and technically I think NeoVim kind of modulates the Vim RC plugin, so VS Code's probably inheriting those same properties, and but that'll be something great to test out. I haven't tried it out.
Yeah, because if it does work, then that's very easy for us to get into the VS Code extensions marketplace very quickly
For sure.
with something like this. So that's why I was asking.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
I do have another question. If you could share with us, I mean, obviously Pangea platform is really easy to use for app development. In the process of creating this, was this an easy process? Was this lengthy? Was it something?
Yeah.
No.
So it's actually pretty easy to use, because a lot of the times you can just head over, if you just click on Try It Now in the Pangea console, you can just head over to, you can see all the APIs here firstly, and then secondly, you can just paste in stuff. So let's say I go back and just look at my API key. Let's say I copy this and I want to, I'll try to test that to see if it works just on a small scale. So right before I just go and build the whole thing, I can just put this in. I don't think that works, but basically I can just do this, copy it, paste this in, and then I could just hit send, and then you can see that it worked. It basically redacted the Stripe API key automatically. So there are like these small kinds of use cases that if you ever have an idea, you want to first test it out, make sure that our APIs kind of support it. The best way to do it is go into the service you think that will work. Click on Try It Now. You'll get into this playground UI, and you can just paste your text in. And this works for most services that we offer.
Fantastic. Thank you. Great. Well, this is good. Again, Pranav, we know this was last minute, so I want to thank you for showcasing the Vim editor on the Pangea platform. Again, we are going to be showcasing several different sample apps and how those can be used and created on the Pangea platform. So super excited in the coming weeks. Encourage you to, again, sign up for our community channel, the Slack channel, and there you can learn about the upcoming sessions that will be scheduled. And if no one has any questions, we can bring this to a wrap.